You're looking at the start step of the Special Project Funding Request process. This process is used to add funding or adjust funding on capital plan projects or projects that have more than one funding source. Take a look at the instructions. You'll find this link in the instructions which you can click on to run a report to see how funding has been added to the funding sources. Required fields have a red asterisk to the left of the field label. There's also a blue square with a white question mark next to the label that explains what's expected in the field. In this case, go ahead and enter a description of what the funding request is for. You may enter it directly, or you can copy it from and paste it from another source. The next two fields involve something called cost objects. Cost objects are the actual accounts at Penn State from which the funding is going to be drawn. They have numbers. New projects will need to have a new cost object associated with it, in which case, if this is the first time you're requesting funding, you would select yes. Existing projects may have a cost object. You might still be requesting that a new cost object be established. You would also select yes. Some existing projects already have a cost object, in which case the request will just be adding monies to that cost object. In that case, you would click no. If you are requesting funding to be added to an existing cost object, you need to know what the object number is. Here's how you can find it. Change your view so that you're looking at the processes view and you can see the project menu. In the project menu, find the cost menu selection and click it. A submenu opens up. Click the Funding Sources menu option. Scroll down just a bit. If there's a cost object that you can see with a number that looks like this, then that's the existing cost object on your project to which you may request additional funding. The eBuilder default funding source is added to every project. It's not something that you use. It's there for administrative reasons. You don't add money to it or work with it. This is the number that you're concerned with. You can copy and paste the number to enter into the field on the start step in your process. Switch back to the start step view of your process, enter the number, and continue. The hover text for this field explains that if you are requesting funding for more than one cost object, each request needs to have its own special funding project request process started. We're pretending in this example that we have an existing cost object, we've found the number and entered it, and we've selected no for the requested cost object value. The next two optional fields allow you to enter information if you already have an approved Board of Trustees amount. You would enter the amount here and the date that the Board of Trustees approved the funding. This is the control for entering dates. You can click on it and pick a date and enter it. Scroll down just a bit. This is a field that allows you to add additional information for the funding sources explanation. It's an optional field. Again, you can enter the text directly in eBuilder or copy and paste it from another source. And then the next field is you enter the total amount of the requested funding. Next, scroll down in the process and you're presented with a funding source grid where you will be asked to describe the source of the funds, the description, the current requested funding amount, and you'll also be asked to enter the total amount of the funding source for all requests to date on this project in this column. Below the grid itself is where you actually enter the fields. First thing you select is the funding source. We'll select President's Facility Initiative, then put in a description. This is optional. Then enter the current requested amount from this funding source. The total project amount value is the current value of any monies requested from this funding source plus the value that you're requesting. Next, click the Add button to add the values that you've entered to the grid. Values in the grid may be edited. I realize that instead of 14.1 million, I've entered the wrong value.